I would say that my best advice to anyone who's smoking, that even though it's the hardest thing that you may be doing is quitting, but if you don't want to go through all of the pain and suffering and disappoint your loved ones and things like that, and even yourself, because a lot of us think that, that cigarettes aren't gonna do us any harm, even though we know that they are. Just stop believing that lie, because it can happen. It happened to me.
After losing my big left toe and the plastic tubing was stuck in my left leg, obviously I was able to stop smoking. But sometime over the next few months, I ended up smoking 4 or 5 cigarettes. The plastic tubing plugged up in my left kneecap, resulting in lost circulation to my left foot. In a matter of 3.5 weeks, my left foot went from a normal-looking foot to a foot that had to be amputated. A third of my foot was missing its skin, so you could see the red fleshy meat. Where my big toe used to be, I had a huge ulcer so big as that when I cleaned it out, besides gagging on myself from the smell, I could see the bones inside of my foot. Both of my index fingers are shorter. The tips turned black, the black tissue fell off. I had bones sticking out of one of my index fingers, and then the other finger, the tip turned black, and then the doctor actually pulled that off. The addiction is so overwhelming that after losing my body parts, I'm still outside smoking. Berger's disease and my addiction to cigarettes has left a lasting impact. My life will always be affected from cigarettes.
I started having trouble walking, and I thought I had pulled a muscle, but I went to the doctor, and they told me that I had blood clots. And from the blood clots, it led me to another doctor, which diagnosed me with Berger's disease. I've been like this for almost 17 years, and I still have to be very careful on what I do, because today or tomorrow, I could bump into something and lose another finger. It's a terrible disease. It's a very painful disease, and it's an ongoing disease. My first 3 or 4 years were just, unbearable. I wasn't living, I was just existing. You say to yourself, you want this pain or you want your leg? You want this pain or you want your finger? At that point, it's like, cut whatever you want to cut. Just stop this pain. It's just too much. We have choices, and I chose to smoke. But if I would have had the information I think that we have today, my choice would have been much different. Just think of waking up one morning and all of a sudden your leg is gone, and it's just something that you have to deal with. Life is so different now. It really is.
The 15-year-old kid I once was didn't think about what happened to when you get older, what the effects of smoking and diabetes. I was a young kid, was healthy. You don't think about that kind of stuff when you're that young. When you get older is when you find out the real deal. It was the one stupid thing I wish I could take back. Didn't quit till I was after I was over almost 40. And that's after I lost my leg. Lost a lot of time because of that stupid stuff and being diabetic. After everything went wrong with my body and my health, it's the hard lesson to learn, but I'm glad I quit and I still got something to show for it. I didn't lose everything, thank God. I lost plenty. Put my wife, my family, my kids through a whole bunch. I know I did. I'm Bill Bussey, and I did quit smoking. I know you can quit too.
Really interesting. When I was diagnosed as diabetic April 12, 2010. I quit February 5th, April 12, 2010. the nutritionist just told me, you can eat more food, but you're going to have to get some exercise in so you can burn up those calories. And that's where the smoking really tied in. Because I thought if I have to exercise, there's no way I can go back to smoking. I already know I can't run upstairs and smoke, and now I can run up the stairs. If I exercise, it was like this one other step that came in right when I needed it. It was like I needed something that says you can't possibly go back to smoking now because, you have this thing. And even though can't possibly with me is always like, you might, but it was important to be able to say, hey, I ride 9 miles a day. It is important to at the time I wasn't yet, but, it'd be nice to be able to get there. And then once I got there, the smoking became less of a possibility because I was already living without cigarettes. I was already, getting up, and I still crave them sometimes, but the cravings weren't where I had to have them.
Tipi wa chanuba trail wash chamuka. Ash makuja heon wash chamu wakishni. Shayda khabi blable. Ash hetchna makuja. When I was younger, I didn't have asthma. I didn't have any upper respiratory illnesses. After I started working at the casino, it wasn't for maybe about a year. That's when I would catch a cold because I caught a cold maybe once or twice a year, but I would kick it. And when I caught a cold, it just lingered on and on and on. And then they started noticing different things that my body was going through. And all that was being exposed to secondhand smoke. On one of my visits to the hospital, they took chest x-rays and the doctor thought I was a heavy smoker because there was lung damage and scar tissue. And when he asked me how heavy of a smoker I was, and I told him I've never smoked a day in my life. I said, never. And he took a look at him and showed me, he said, this is a heavy smoker's lungs. Dancing is important in a lot of the tribes who dance socially like that. And it's important that way for a lot of people. For me, it is. Being Lakota and growing up in a traditional way of life, I was raised by my grandparents, so I grew up that way. And I wanted to pass some of those things on. And then being exposed to secondhand smoke and finding out you can't do any more of that stuff, it's really hard on somebody like myself. Exposure to secondhand smoke in the workplace gave me severe lung damage. And even though I'm not in the smoking environment anymore, I still have problems.
My mom started smoking cigarettes in college, and she was diagnosed with lung cancer. I was around maybe 14, 15 years old when she got the diagnosis. I often think back, even all these years later, about all the things that I experienced that she wasn't around for. And just to think about how sad and even sometimes angry that I still am at the loss of my mother. I couldn't bear the thought of putting that same weight on my own child.
Well, I listened to my mom talk about her experience with her mom. It's like I can't imagine anybody going through what you went through. And just to think about me not having a mom and having to take care of you. I just can't imagine how anybody can be strong enough to do that. And that's why I admire you. Because when I think about not having you around, it's almost like, what will I do? You know, and I'm very proud of you.
I decided to quit because my son, Nicholas, wrote me a letter when he was about 11 years old. He wrote me a letter and left it on the kitchen table for me to read. And once I saw that, I felt really badly because I knew it was affecting him, and he knew that smoking was bad for you. So he wrote it when he was 11. It says, "Dear Mom, smoking. Thank you, Mom, for quitting smoking. I know you can do it. It is a hard thing to do, but smoking kills you. So you are saving your life. I'm lucky to have parents like you and Daddy, because maybe other parents would probably say, oh, he's just a kid. But you are the best mom in the world. Don't smoke." And then he drew a little something, which was cute. It's me smoking, and then that's like before and after, and that's a dead me. That's him crying because he was afraid that I was going to die. And I made copies of it, and I keep it everywhere. Obviously, I keep this one in my wallet, and I keep some at my desk, and I have them at home on my refrigerator, so it's like everywhere. My son is really proud that I quit smoking. He thinks it's the best thing I've ever done, and he thanked me for it. I think I'm being a good role model now.